pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item number 3, approval of minutes from July 17th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Number 4, first selectmen's comments. I do have something I'd like to read tonight. At our July meeting, I spoke about the fact that our town engineer had resigned and that there had been concerns raised by some members of the Board of Selectmen as to a transition plan for replacing the positions and the duties involved. At that time, I said, quote, "The course of action that we will take is currently unknown as we take advantage of this time to look at the possibilities going forward," unquote. I also promised that within 90 days, I would offer a plan to address those concerns. This will serve as an update about what we're doing to cover the duties of that position during the transition and where I see us heading. We drafted a list of the duties that the town engineer was responsible for and met with our current engineering staff to discuss our course of action. We were able to assign most duties to one or the other of the individuals, in many cases noting that one and or the other is handling the duty in-house or that we will contract as needed. We also determined that some duties were redundant or no longer relevant to the position. By paring down the relevant duties and making sure that the critical ones are covered in-house, we're able to keep the department running smoothly. For projects that are beyond our capabilities, we will deal with an appropriate contractor for the job for project engineering, design, and project management. In this way, we can effectively eliminate one position, reorganize the engineering department as a unit of public works, and save the salary that was previously associated with that position. We're well into that transition less than 60 days later. With the current economic environment in Connecticut, I believe that we should not start any new big projects. We should finish the ones we started, do what's needed in town to improve our infrastructure, and put projects that are not critical on hold. I believe that we need to coordinate purchasing in town to achieve savings that we may be missing by not having centralized purchasing. Furthermore, if that job were to be shared with the public schools, as we do with many other jobs in town, we could potentially achieve even greater economies of scale through a coordinated purchasing program. I firmly believe that in time, this position could possibly pay for itself through accrued savings. We recently did a salary survey to determine what would be a competitive salary for that position. For about half of what we were paying our town engineer, we can hire a purchasing agent or purchasing manager. By splitting the cost with the school department, it would effectively be a quarter of the cost, creating a real savings. I've spoken with the superintendent of schools, and he agrees that it would be worthwhile. Knowing that we have the engineering department duties covered by existing staff and that funding for the position is already budgeted for the second half of the fiscal year, I'd like to begin the discussion with the Board of Selectmen about hiring a purchasing agent so that we can have the position filled by January 1st, 2018. I think this will help us to save money in the long term and make our own town operations more efficient. Thank you. Number 5, citizens' comments. Anybody? Walter?
I recently had another not a meeting, but a telephone conversation with Mr. Scarice in regards to pre-employment drug testing of all Board of Education employees, whether they're janitors or whether they're teachers. And he's not interested in doing that. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why every one of our employees in town employees are pre-employment drug tested. I'm not talking about testing them while they're employed. That would be the subject to collective bargaining. But I think that every parent in this town ought to really complain to the Board of Education and to whoever else they want to do it to. Why aren't we doing this? It would cost maybe $6,000 or $7,000 a year for everybody to be tested. I think it's really, I have no idea why he's taken this position. And I would hope that everybody that may hear this would do something about it. It's, in this day and age, I don't understand it. Another thing I'd like to talk about is I have talked to Tom about possibly working something out with the Yale School of Forestry so that we would be like a test place for them, and maybe we could get some help from them because we have a serious problem in town in regards to the trees. I almost got clobbered by a tree. Not a big branch, but small enough. And of course, I had my house clobbered by one this past winter, but that was my own tree. But we have trees all over this town that have dead limbs on it, this, that, the other thing. We have no real accounting of what the tree warden does. There are dead trees that have been out there in prominent places. There's one opposite the church that's, you can almost look through it. And along Railroad Avenue, Tom and I have seen this. I would like to see us try to enter into something with Yale, and at the same time get our tree warden to account for his time as to what he's doing. Now, a week from today, last week, on a Monday morning, I was sitting downtown and I watched 2 town pickup trucks go by, a big town jump truck go by, and they were also hauling a wood chipper. 10 minutes later, all of the vehicles came back and they had a 3-foot section of a tree, maybe a foot in diameter, maybe 3 foot long, in the back of the big dump truck. So there's so much out there that needs to be done, and one of these days, this town is going to get hit with a lawsuit because somebody got hurt. So I just wanted to hold that out to you to see what you can do, but especially with this Board of Education. And I have no gripes with anybody there. I don't know a teacher. I didn't educate my kids in this school system, but something should be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Hearing none. New business, number 6, discuss and take action on proclaiming September 10th to 17th, 2017 as a time of remembrance, a commitment to volunteerism and community pride in the town of Madison. We have a proclamation.
I'll read the proclamation. Whereas the townspeople of Madison were so affected by the events of September 11, 2001, that they were moved to design a public ceremony of remembrance, one that has since been held on an annual basis, and whereas the citizens of Madison will come together on Monday, September 11, 2017, in tribute to those who lost their lives and to the heroes who responded. And whereas the town of Madison will participate in the Days of Caring by encouraging participation in this commemoration, to help make our community stronger by serving as volunteers within the community. And now, therefore, we, the Board of Selectmen of the town of Madison, do hereby proclaim September 10th through the 17th, 2017, as a time of remembrance, volunteerism, and community spirit pride, dated at Madison, Connecticut, this 28th day of August, 2017.
So moved.
One second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Number 7, discuss and take action to approve a proclamation honoring Beverly Schermeyer of the Madison Art Society. Scott, want to read that one?
Sure. Whereas Beverly Schermeyer has served as the president of Madison Arts Society for over 11 years, and whereas Beverly Schermeyer has influenced the lives of artists in Madison and the surrounding communities, and whereas Beverly Schermeyer has made great strides in ensuring a space for local artists to showcase their talents, bringing forth events which are culturally rich and accessible, and now therefore, we, the members of the board, hereby unanimously acknowledge the achievement of Beverly Schermeyer and name September 18, 2017 as Beverly Schermeyer Day in the town of Madison, done this 28th day of August 2017 in the town of Madison, Connecticut. Signed by all the selectmen.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Number 8, discuss
Sign
and...
that one, right?
It's coming.
No.
It's coming.
I'll slow it down.
He is.
Discuss and take action to establish an ad hoc pension advisory committee whose charge shall be as follows. Al, would you like to read the charge?
Review the agreement between the town of Madison and outside pension consultant and make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen regarding a pension investment management firm. The committee will consist of 2 representatives from the Board of Selectmen, 1 representative from the Board of Finance, 3 representatives from the Town Pension Committee, the Finance Director, and the Assistant Finance Director.
Have a motion? Is that a motion? No, it's not a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
If we
Second.
approve this charge.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 9,
Do we
discuss.
have people who have already been nominated for the position? Oh, well, there you go. Well, there you go. All right, I'm excited.
Just hang on there. Number 9, discuss and take action to appoint the following members to the Ad hoc Pension Advisory Committee. Al Goldberg, Selectman, Bruce Wilson, Selectman, a representative from the Board of Finance to be determined, Robert Newman, Pension Committee Representative, Judith Friedman, Pension Committee Representative, Joe Mako, Pension Committee Representative, Stacy Nobitz, Finance Director, Cheryl Cuspa, Assistant Finance Director.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 10, discuss the needs assessment study for the communications equipment. Okay, so it's been suggested that we conduct a needs analysis for the communications equipment for radios, I think it is, for the departments. And so it will be for all departments. And I think Stacy's getting some quotes.
Yes, we actually received one, and then we reached out to many others and have yet to receive one. So I think tonight we're just hoping to get the approval to move forward. And if we get a dollar amount underneath our threshold, that will enter into an agreement so that they can actually do the work.
So it'll be competitively bid, but you just want to have an idea.
I think the total amount is under the threshold,
Okay.
under the Board of Selectmen policies. However, we are trying to obtain at least 3 quotes to make sure that we did our due diligence and got a good price.
Stacy, for the sake of everybody here and the folks at home, could you just put this in a larger picture? What is this part of?
Okay, so you all are aware of the big tower that's going on over there. So this would be phase 3 for all the subscription equipment, and correct me if I mess up, but this is phase 3 to actually get all the departments up and running, to have their radios, pagers, all of that fun stuff. The committee had, the CIP committee reviewed during last fall, which went through you and the Board of Finance and the budget process to adopt a 5-year lease to phase it in, to phase the equipment in. Since then, there's been some discussions, do we want to buy it all now? Do we still want to phase it in? So at this point, I believe that we're asking you all to at least do this assessment, see exactly what is needed in all the departments. Madison Hose, North Madison, the ambulance, the police, and also for emergency management now, which was not part of the original request. So we thought if we brought in a third party, they can look and say, yes, you need this, or you need more, or you,
I
whatever.
think as part of this also, we wanted to authorize the first year's purchase, because if there's adjustments to be made, they can be made on the back end. But we'd like to get the first year approved and taken care of.
While we're in the process of doing this needs assessment, our thought was to move forward with that first year of a 5-year phase-in.
Will the needs assessment also include the town garage communications equipment? Or is that something
No.
separate?
No, that's not part of it. It's just emergency
Emergency services.
response.
Stacy, what are the questions that will be asked and answered in this study?
I actually have a copy that I can
just
send out.
Just paraphrase it for me.
Yeah.
Basically, it's going to look at the department as a whole and see what the actual needs are as far as making sure that the communication is where it needs to be, and to make sure we get the right quantity and get it at the right time of when they need it, because there's a big change coming with the tower, and we want to just make sure that everybody is up and running with the appropriate equipment. I don't know if you guys...
So this is really going to be a validation of the recommendations that were part of the bid process to do the whole thing anyhow.
Yeah,
So
it's
to make sure that
pretty much a
we're
confirmation.
buying the right stuff at the right time, and there may be some changes in technology since that was done. So
Yeah, making sure they get what they need, really.
Will this also be looking at quantity?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that the results of the needs assessment will come back to the Board of Selectmen, and we will review that prior to making decisions.
So as far as the, purchase of the first round, where does that stand in terms of being approved?
Okay, so, actually, I have a handout, if you don't mind.
Yep.
A handout?
Visuals.
Even things we can read.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is basically when we were looking at whether we wanted to do it all up front or if we wanted to do this needs assessment and just purchase the first year of a 5-year phase-in. So I know you guys have all been, going back and forth. So I believe the last plan I had heard, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, is that we were going to try to do this needs assessment if you all approve, and then phase in all the needs over 5 years while we're doing the needs assessment to purchase that first year. So nobody's waiting or needs anything and they're not getting it. We asked all the departments to give us their 5-year phase-in. So they gave us the quantity and the description of what they need in that first year, and that's what these numbers are based on. So option A was doing it all up front, and option B would provide all the responders with the first year of the phase-in while we do this needs assessment.
And that's the revised phase-in, right? So the reason for the special appropriate, the 30,000 would be a special appropriation.
Correct.
And the reason for that is that after the original submission to CIP, a reassessment was done, and there was more and different and more.
Yeah, it was revised.
A little bit of everything, right?
Yep, and we also, now we're including the emergency management as well, which was not before. So I believe that this is a complete list from everybody. And again, the 5-year phase-in was provided to us from everybody else. And all we did was quantify it, look at it, and get the pricing independently to figure out how we can get them the first year while we go through this needs assessment process.
So I was planning, when we were done with this, to move that we open the agenda.
So why don't
For the
we
purpose-
consider two things? For the appropriation that you want to do, and also because we say discuss the needs assessment study, we really need to discuss and take action.
Okay.
All right, so you going to make a motion to open the agenda?
So I'll move that we open the agenda to add the item to approve a special appropriation. I think, Stacy, you've used some round numbers here. Is it appropriate for us to do a not to exceed?
Yeah, that's what I was recommending. I actually have the
Okay.
form. I apologize, I didn't keep this.
So then the motion would be that we approve a special appropriation not to exceed $35,000 for the purpose of purchasing the year one equipment as described in the CIP.
Okay.
As
second that.
modified for quantity and price.
Pardon?
As modified for the quantity
Right.
and price. Yeah.
Right.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, any discussion?
Just to clarify, Stacy, the CIP contemplated we would be buying this equipment over a 5-year period. We are now doing a study in order to determine whether we need to accelerate the purchasing schedule, whether we
Correct.
can really stretch it out over 5 years, or whether it has to be done in some other time frame.
Yes.
It includes, the study would include a lot of things, including that, but it would also include evaluation of the total package in terms of numbers of units being bought and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, thank you.
And just one other thing to clarify, that the amount was a little bit different because we had to build in programming and installation costs. So that was an unknown, but we built in a number into these numbers to make sure they will be set to move forward.
But, so the expectation is this covers everything we need to execute on that phase of the equipment plan,
Correct.
all in.
For year
No
one.
additional special appropriations is what I just heard.
Not for this,
Right.
Not for
Right,
this.
That's what I just heard.
Option B.
For option B.
for option B, right, not to exceed 35,000.
Okay, so any further discussion?
You need
All in favor?
You need a second to open the agenda. or
I second
open
it.
the agenda and then to motion it.
You're such a stickler.
Yeah, well, I'll second whatever you just said.
Okay, so we have a second to open the agenda. All in favor of opening the agenda?
Aye.
Okay. So now we have a motion
So I'll make the motion that I've already made.
for a special
You got that?
appropriation for
Yep, I got
$95,000.
it.
And you seconded it, I think.
Yeah, not to exceed 35, yes.
Yep.
Any further discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
And then I'll make a motion that we authorize the needs assessment study for the communications equipment.
Second.
I think we need to open the agenda
Did
to,
we open the agenda for both things?
no, we only opened it for one.
Okay, so
So
we'll
open
open the agenda again.
agenda to take action on.
I could have sworn I did.
You did. I move we open the agenda to take action on the needs assessment study for communications.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we're open, now what do we do?
Now you have a motion to authorize a needs
We're losing
assessment
the
for
track here.
communications equipment for the North Madison Fire Department, the Madison Hose Company number 1, the ambulance service, the police department, and emergency services.
Very good.
Wow.
Do we need to fund
That
that?
sounds like a motion to me.
Yes.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that?
I just, this may not relate to this motion exactly, but do we now need to also fund the special
It's a special appropriation for,
for the study?
That's another
Isn't
motion.
that
Oh, no,
Isn't that what we're doing?
Yeah.
No, we're
So
just
we're
authorizing
the
we're
warrant.
going to do it.
This is authorizing to do the needs assessment,
Right.
which would be the special.
But then you have to do a special appropriation to cover it.
We may not.
It might be within the budget.
Within the CIP, but.
Yeah.
It's got, there's planning money for it?
we have a planning and engineering fund where.
Okay,
Fine,
So,
fine.
So I have a motion and a second.
So do we actually, do we have a
So are we in the
proposal of what
discussion
that
phase
was?
right now, Bruce?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we only have one.
We have one, we have,
Proposal. But we
we
don't
made-
want to talk about doing that because.
No, but do we have a description of what we're trying to accomplish in the study?
Yes.
I have an actual proposal that I can forward to you all.
Yeah. Was there guidelines that were given to the vendor, like an RFP or something, though, that we could peek at some point?
It was basically a discussion of what, we wanted them to come in. They came back with a very thorough proposal that it actually has hours of what they plan on doing. I can forward that to you. We didn't because we've only received one to date. So, and we've been trying, both Kristen and I have reached out to many firms and we're having a little bit of a difficult time getting a response. But again, the dollar amount that we've seen in the one is below our threshold to have to go out to bid.
Yep.
But we would like 3 quotes.
probably a good idea to forward that to us so we know what it was.
Yeah, what is the current price? Do we have a price?
We don't.
If you want to say that.
Don't want to say it, oh, got it.
Not in a public meeting.
Got it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Wait,
Oh.
wait.
What, you still in
I
discussion?
still processing.
You're still discussing.
I'm still processing.
Too late. Your process
I'm just
is
saying
a
something, I
little
don't
slow.
know.
So, I mean, I like the idea, I think we need to do it. I would like for the parameters of this to be crisp and in the public record. I'm wondering if we can't maybe agree here that in the next board select meeting, it will just come up as a, something that we can have in the record.
Just the guidelines.
Just to
whatever
say,
was
this,
the- yeah.
that thing that we voted on before, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just seems like the right follow-through, so that it's crisp, we know what we're doing here.
This is here's what we asked the vendors, or here's what the vendors are coming back.
Well, what our expectations are, the ground that it's gonna cover, the scope of the request. So,
Sounds good.
okay.
Yes.
Now can we vote?
Can we vote now? Yeah.
We
Well,
already
since you said it
voted.
that way, maybe I've got more to say. No, I'm good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Number 11, discuss and take action to approve the resignation of Jason Olstad from the Board of Finance.
So moved.
Second.
With our appreciation,
Indeed.
all in
Yes.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Discuss and take action to approve the resignation of Thomas Kelty from the Bower Park Advisory Committee.
So moved.
With appreciation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have two appointments tonight. One is Kevin Kranzler to the Board of Finance for a term to expire November 1st, 2019.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And the second is Kristen Wilderman to the Bauer Park Advisory Committee for a term to expire January 1st, 2021.
So moved.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. We have a list of tax abatements or refunds totaling $5,884.04.
Move approval.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 15, citizens' comments.
One other thing, well, you're mentioning communications.
Yeah.
If you look in the New York papers today, approximately 20 some odd thousand to 30 some odd thousand cell phones were ordered for the members of the New York City Police Department. And that was done at the behest of the Deputy Commissioner in charge of technology. It was also announced today that the phones won't work after July 1 because I'm not a tech person, but whoever supported the Motorola is no longer going to be supporting it. So if anybody wants toys for their grandchildren or whatever, these phones are all going to be available. So I don't know anything about tech. You know, my days, we had a manual siren in the police cars, you know, and it was like the old dimmer switch. But think about this, and it said in the thing today, she was the sole decider of going with them. So I would encourage all your tech people, and what course of action do we have if we go into any kind of program, and then it cannot be supported further by different, what do we do, stand around sucking our thumbs, or do we have recourse?
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Hearing none, liaison reports, selectmen comments.
I got a couple. Yeah, I can do a couple. So Sam can speak to this better than I can, but the ambulance, I guess, is in the house, so to speak. It's in New Haven or North Haven or in one of the havens being prepped at this point, so that is good news.
In North Haven at the dealer being prepped. Great.
Yeah, so that's exciting. In terms of the library building committee, we hired an independent cost estimator who prepared for the new construction estimate, so that's in the process right now. We then had a reconciliation meeting with the architect to verify the assumptions made and to make sure that we're on the right track for moving forward. And then Colliers, who we've hired now, is preparing an updated master budget to take into account the new cost estimate and revised soft cost. And I guess lastly, based on the meeting that we just had tonight, I know there's interest to discuss in the future at some point some energy efficiency items for that particular building as well, which...
So I wonder who brought that up.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. But I think all with good intent.
Oh, absolutely.
Some good ideas were discussed. So I think that's something we want to at some point discuss.
So they're expecting the price to come down?
To be determined. To be determined.
When do they expect to start construction?
I'm not sure of the exact schedule at this point, so
It was originally anticipated for January
I think we're
2018. It's
slightly off at this
Yeah,
point.
it might not be right about that.
Some of it's the negotiations with the architect. And then lastly, we did have a meeting in Tom's office around the possibility of privatization of the concession stand with the music boosters, school, Craig Semple, and I think it was a productive conversation. And you know, I think we've got some thinking to do on everybody's sides in terms of you know, determining whether or not Beach and Rec want to make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen on privatization, and/or do the music boosters want to continue to operate and be the volunteers in the actual facility. And so more to come on that, but it was a healthy and productive conversation.
Good.
No report.
Okay. Bruce?
So mercifully, my liaison committees have had a quiet summer.
Yeah.
So not much to report there. I would like to say that I've had a couple of comments from residents about the health of trees along various roadways.
More than Walter?
And Walter wasn't one of them. So it's something that people are noticing. It's something that I think we probably want to take care of. Gypsy moths have done their damage in a variety of places. And
Yeah, so there's a lot of work that's anticipated to be done along Route 79, Route 80, by the electric company. I mean, if you see the trucks parked at the commuter lot, it's because they're here in anticipation of going up and doing a lot of that work. We also have orders in for trimming a bunch of trees around town, and they've been marked, some of the ones we talked about. So, you know, it's in the works. It's a matter of, there's a lot of work to do. Madison is a town with tons of trees, and so, you know, the electric company will get to theirs, we'll get to ours, and then, you know, it's an ongoing process. But
The
your point is well taken.
roads have been stopped for the last 2 weeks on 79 with tree work.
That's good.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, right near me, actually. Lucky me.
Planned it that way.
Al? Three quick things from the Board of Police Commissioners. The tower, the new communications tower is mostly up behind the Arts Barn. I guess it still needs to be outfitted to some extent. It is a mighty big tower. Second, the issue of the intersection of Cops Road and Green Hill Road continues to get attention from our Board of Police Commissioners. And the current plan is calling for a strobe light to be placed on Green Hill Road for cars proceeding in a westbound direction towards the high school as they approach the intersection with Cops Road. This strobe light will attempt to remind drivers that they need to be proceeding at a reasonable speed, and in hopes that it'll slow us all down. I understand this may be a strobe light that is powered by the sun, if I got that right. And so I'm not sure the exact implementation plan, but that will be going up very soon.
Al, was there any discussion about just the 4 corner stoplights or stop signs there? I mean, to me, that's the basic thing. I mean, there's an accident there every week.
Scott, without getting an extensive discussion here, the police commissioners have considered everything for that intersection.
Okay.
This is going to be the next try. And, interestingly, the analysis of that intersection has not shown that there is an exceptionally high accident rate at that intersection, which is a surprise to everybody, including the police commissioners. So the situation is being monitored.
Ask the parents in the morning going to school.
Not having the accidents.
Oh, my God.
The final, this is more of a pedestrian item. Our beautiful new downtown project still finds we, the pedestrians, trying to cross in the middle of the block. Historically, the Department of Transportation, which controls Route 1, has said we may not build a crosswalk. But the chief has recently reported to us that there may be some relenting on the part of state officials. And
That's great.
we are in the process of trying to get final approval to create a mid-block crosswalk in the middle of our downtown, in the middle of Main Street. And what it would look like hasn't been determined yet, but the idea is to make it very visible, to slow down traffic, to make pedestrians feel safer crossing the street, and to generally make our downtown easier to navigate for pedestrians. So there's for the first time in a long time, there's optimism that the state will approve this.
Great, thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Like Bruce said, not much has been going on this summer, so I have nothing else to report. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Will we adjourn?
Second.
Back in.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you, everybody.